When anger meets the shadow within, something always burns. All it took was just one word, and the shadow struck. As we drove down the road, the blast of music, laughter, and screams enveloped me, making my heart skip a beat. The neon lights filled the air, all spilling from Danny's party down the street. His mansion stood tall in its magnificent glory. The music hit us the moment Kelly pulled her car to a stop near his house. It wasn't just loud. It was alive, a physical thing, vibrating through the windows and the ground beneath my feet. The backyard was a scene of controlled chaos. Strings of fairy lights crisscrossed over the lawn, reflecting off masks and sequined fabric, bathing everything in a pulsing, anticipation-heavy glow. The party was already in full swing, and just like Kelly had said, half the school was there. "I told you," Kelly yelled over the bass, grabbing my arm and pulling me through the front gate. We made our way through the crowd, exchanging greetings and compliments. Everyone was masked, making the whole scene feel like a beautifully elaborate secret. I spotted a few familiar faces, including some from our class. They all seemed to be having the time of their lives. But I was on a mission to find Leo. I excused myself from Kelly and the others, heading inside to search for him. I pushed further into the house, the air inside warmer and heavier. Just as I rounded the corner into the main hallway, I nearly walked straight into someone. "Watch it, witchy," a voice drawled, dripping with sugary sarcasm. I froze. No mask could hide that tone. I looked up, finding the source. The costume was impressive, a regal, almost villainous queen of hearts, complete with a stiff high collar and a painted smirk visible just around the edges of her diamond-patterned mask. "Amber," I said flatly, instantly recognizing the cruel glint in her eyes. She gave me a slow, mocking once-over. "Well, look at you. If it isn't the orphan girl, all dressed up. The dress is almost fitting. You certainly look like you cast a spell to get invited." Her two friends, Steffi and Jessica, her puppies, as Chloe once called them, were giggling behind her, covered in glitter and fake wings. A familiar rush of annoyance flared in my chest. I opened my mouth to shoot back a reply, something about her not losing her head, when a hand gripped my arm firmly. "Ignore her nonsense, Addie," Kelly said, suddenly appearing beside me, her voice low and tight. She didn't even look at Amber. "We're here to have fun, not waste tonight on Amber's boring garbage. Let's go find our crew." She pulled me away, and I followed, letting the wave of my anger fade. "Focus," I told myself. "Don't let her win." We eventually found them in the backyard near a makeshift bar. Leo was in the middle of a drinking challenge, looking ridiculous but utterly charming. He was dressed as a surprisingly accurate pirate captain, complete with a full leather trench coat and a slightly crooked tricorn hat. When he spotted me, he flashed a grin and raised his plastic cup. Danny, the host, stood nearby, true to his dramatic nature, dressed as an elaborately costumed vampire noble, his velvet cape draped perfectly over one shoulder. JJ leaned against the table, surprisingly casual as a modern-day Gatsby in a sharp suit and a subtle silver mask. The atmosphere was exactly what Kelly had promised. Loud, reckless, and free. Kelly dragged me off to grab a drink, and for a while, I just let myself float. I took a few sips of a fruity punch, letting the music wash over me. I tried to just vibe, as Kelly had said. We watched the guys cheer and chug their drinks, and I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Kelly grinned at me, and we joined in, cheering them on. It was during one of my scans of the crowd that my eyes snagged on him. Lee. He stood near the pool, surrounded by a tight cluster of girls who were clearly trying to flirt with him, and failing, judging by his aloof posture. His costume was simple but striking, a dark, sleek outfit that could only be described as a modern specter or shadow. No cape, no sword, just sharp black lines, a charcoal mask covering only his eyes, and a devastatingly cold presence. As if he could feel my gaze, he looked up. His eyes found mine across the distance. He stopped talking, the girls fading into background noise. For a split second, he held me with that familiar, unreadable stare. The one that always felt like he was searching for something just beneath my skin. Then, just as abruptly, he turned back to the conversation, dismissing me. "Come on, Addie. Let's dance," Kelly shouted over the music, grabbing my hand. Without waiting for my answer, she pulled me toward the crowded patio. We danced until my muscles ached and my lungs burned. The loud music and spinning lights were a good distraction. They kept Chloe's whispers at bay, and the image of Lee's face from settling in my mind. Finally, worn out, we collapsed onto a sofa. "I need a minute," I gasped, clutching my side. "You're hopeless," Kelly giggled, though she was breathing heavily too. As we made our way back inside, we found our crew gathered in one of the rooms, sitting on the floor in a circle. They were already deep into a game of truth or dare. Lee and Amber were among them. Lee gave me that silent stare as usual, and Amber wore her mocking smirk, both sitting side by side. A sight that sent a cold shiver down my spine. "Come on, Addie," Leo called, tapping the space beside him. I hesitated before heading over, intending only to watch, but Kelly talked me into joining in. The game continued with Leo getting dared to kiss a guy from my class. Weird to me, but apparently cool to them. After a few more spins, the bottle pointed at me. "Truth," I said, hoping for something easy. "Let me have this one," Amber said with a venomous smile, a triumphant smirk stretching the edges of her mask. She had been waiting for this. "All right," she purred, leaning forward. "Since you're here, wearing such an expensive costume that makes you appear all high and mighty, dark and mysterious, tell us. Is it true that you're the Zachary's charity case? A liability they keep around just to eat their food?" "Amber!" Both Lee and Leo shouted at the same time. The noise in the room vanished. The air thickened. It wasn't just a mean question, it was cruel, cutting, and deliberate. I could feel every eye on me. Kelly's eyes were wide with pity and concern. Leo's eyes burned with disbelief and anger. But Lee's gaze, his gaze was heavy, cutting through the silence like a blade. My heart hammered against my ribs. The smug mockery on Amber's face was unbearable. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, so I don't have to think of a comeback. Miss High and Mighty. I didn't beg for the Zachary's attention. They came for me. Even before that, I worked to fund the orphanage myself. So you have no right to call me a charity case or a liability. I rose to my feet, my voice trembling but strong. "I don't even see any reason why I should be explaining myself to you. I'm done playing this game. I'm going to get some air," I muttered, turning away. "Do you want me to come?" Kelly called after me. I shook my head. Without another word, I bolted from the room. I shouldn't have come. I could have been in my pajamas, curled up with a movie or a book, or Skyping with Chloe. I stumbled into the kitchen and grabbed the nearest bottle, pouring a small amount of clear liquid into a shot glass. I wasn't the drinking type, but I needed it. It burned going down, but the sting cleared my fogged mind. I needed to be alone. I found an empty, quiet room upstairs and leaned against the window, trying to steady my breathing. "Coward," Chloe whispered, closer this time. "You could have silenced her with a look." "No," I hissed under my breath. "I won't. You're lying to yourself, Addie. It's what you are." I was halfway to convincing myself to leave, to call Mom to pick me up, when the door opened again. "Running away already?" "Amber." She walked in, her Queen of Hearts costume striking against the dim light, her face twisted with mocking pity. "The drama's over, Amber. Go back to the party," I said, turning away. She laughed, a sharp, unpleasant sound. "Oh, don't pout. You know, you shouldn't let that little moment with Lee go to your head. He only stepped in because he hates drama, not because he actually cares about the pathetic new girl. He doesn't even know you exist. Just leave me alone," I said, clenching my fists. "And why would I? You needed a reality check. You think you're special? You think you can just show up and steal attention?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice until it dripped poison. Honestly, everyone knows your real parents abandoned you at the orphanage because you're a liability. They couldn't provide for a scumbag child like you because they themselves were useless. The word abandon didn't just hit me. It detonated something deep inside. It crossed a line, slashed open an old wound. A cold, primal fury erupted in my chest. She said that. Chloe was no longer a whisper. She roared and took over. You seek for me. Chloe's voice rumbled through mine, double distorted. And that you'll get. Before I could blink, Chloe swung. A sharp, brutal punch across Amber's cheek, splattering blood. A dizzying rush followed. My body buzzed with adrenaline and power. Then a flash. Dark electric energy, violent and alive. A high, terrified scream tore through the night. I blinked, and suddenly I was me again. Addie, trembling, looking down at Amber. The Queen of Hearts was crumpled on the floor, clutching her left arm. Her shirt sleeve was shredded. A deep, jagged electric burn cutting through her skin. Blood stained the fabric. Her cheek was swollen, her lips split. The scream acted like a siren. The music cut off. The back door burst open. Everyone flooded in: Leo, Kelly, Danny, JJ, and a sea of masked faces. What happened? Leo yelled, pushing through the crowd. Amber trembled, her eyes wide with terror, pointing straight at me. Leo spun, his pirate mask, asked, Addie, what happened? I stared at the blood, the crowd, Amber's accusing hand. I don't know. I heard her scream and ran over to help, just like you guys. My voice shook, desperate enough to sound believable. The crowd swarmed around Amber, pulling her up and leading her away. But one pair of eyes didn't move. Lee. He stood at the edge of the chaos, his shadow costume blending into the darkness. He didn't help Amber, didn't speak. He just stared, silent, unreadable, but burning with suspicion. His gaze made me feel exposed, as if he knew exactly what I'd done. Kelly wrapped her arms around me, pulling me close. Hey, you're okay. Thank goodness you're okay. I know you wouldn't do that, Addie. Leo placed a hand on my shoulder, his voice tight. Yeah, Addie, it's okay. You're okay. I leaned into their concern, letting their warmth shield me from the cold, dreadful truth of what I had just released. The laughter, the music, the chaos. All of it faded into the background. Only one thing echoed in my mind, the scream and Lee's eyes. Something inside me had been unleashed, and this time, I wasn't sure if I could cage it again. To be continued. If you felt that chill, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter of Theshadowwithin. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think really happened to Amber? And did Lee just see the truth?